Lauren, I'm going to ask you to take the lead here. I'm going to walk through what I know about the transaction fee question, and then you're going to tell me what I'm messing up or what is correct. Okay.
Buckle up, people. Buckle up.
Hot topic. The hot topic if you've been a Razor's Edge user for a while now. So Blackbaud has two options. So the question on the table is, I want to let my donors pay credit card fees, right? They're going to pay, can they pay the transaction fee? How do I do that? And in fact, I got an email this morning from someone I never met that said, hey, I saw you're doing a webinar. I was wondering, how can I let donors pay transaction fees? I said, great, come to the webinar. We're going to talk about exactly that. There are two options from Blackbaud as I understand it. There's donor cover and there's complete cover, okay? In both cases, you choose whether to turn it on. So Lauren, this is at the form level, right? So if I'm an organization, I can set up one form with nothing. I can set up one form and turn on donor cover. I can set another form, turn on complete cover, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you are in charge. So none of this is forced on you. You get all the control. If you turn it on, then it becomes an opt-out for the donor. So Lauren creates a donation form. She turns on donor cover, and we're going to talk through the details. The experience for the donor is they go to that donation page, they make their gift. That box is already checked that says, I want to give X amount more. The donor would have to uncheck it. Still correct? All right. So how it works. On donor cover, if a donor covers the transaction fee, you save money. That's the premise of donor cover. That is the baseline that we all have in our heads of, I want to give the option for the donor to pay the transaction fee. They do it, great. I don't have to pay it. Okay. So if the donor pays it, you don't have to. If they choose not to, if they uncheck that box, then you're going to pay the transaction fee. Okay. That's how donor cover works. Pretty common with some wrinkles. Complete cover. Or if you turn on complete cover, all the gifts that come through there, your organization doesn't pay any transaction fees. If somebody donates $100, you're getting $100 regardless of what the donor checks or unchecks, right? It's donor cover, it's complete cover. Blackbaud is making a promise to you that you are going to get every dollar of the original gift that is intended. Okay. That sounds like an amazing deal. I can see why a lot of people are excited by that. You have to read the fine print though and understand what's actually happening so you can make an intelligent decision on what's right for you. Okay.
Yep.
So donor cover, you may have some people pay transaction fees, you may have some that don't. Complete cover, all the transaction fees are covered. Here's that next step though, okay? On donor cover, if the donor doesn't opt out, this is what happens. The donor will pay 3.95%, 3.95% plus 30 cents on top of the original gift. And we're going to use an exact example, so we'll put real numbers in front of you, okay? Donor cover, common 3%-ish transaction fee. They can opt in or out. That's what they're going to pay. On complete cover, if you turned it on, if the donor does not opt out of complete cover, they are going to pay an additional 9 to 10% on top of that original gift, although it maxes out at 3,000. Lauren, did I say that right?
Correct. At 3,000, it switches over to donor cover regardless. It just
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha. Okay. So you can see now why Blackbaud is willing to tell you we'll cover all the transaction fees because they're putting in front of donors a 9 to 10%, a much higher transaction fee, but it's not labeled a transaction fee, right? So that's I assume they know that some people will say yes, I'll pay that. Many more will probably say I'm not going to pay that, and that they're going to net out, the difference. Okay. So donor cover 3.95% plus 30 cents. Complete cover, it's going to be 9 to 10%. Now, Lauren, that's not written anywhere, right? Like it really could be anything that they're putting in front of them, but we keep trying it.
Yes. The 9 to 10 is an average. It can go higher, it can go lower. When they started complete cover, donors could choose a percentage, and now they cannot. It's just, do you want to give an extra this dollars?
Oh. So complete cover is a solution from Blackbaud. It's like an easy button. It's like if you never want to pay a transaction fee, turn this thing on and we're going to handle it from there. And then what they're going to do is put an extra number in front of the donor that you're not responsible for, you're not in control of. Okay.
I actually think an easy button is a good way to say it. It's an easy button and you can't have any input on it. Like, we've handled it, and the cost of that is we're giving you all the fees.
Yes, it's binary. There's no adjustments. So let's dig in a little bit deeper, right? So on donor cover, you can see. So the traditional donor cover, you can see which donors covered the fees, how much they're charged, right? You get a report on that. On complete cover, you have no idea, right? You're saying Blackbaud's going to give me the full amount of every gift, and then they're going to add on an extra amount, which in our research averages 9 to 10%, but we have no idea who paid that, right, Lauren?
We don't know how much they paid. We do see paid if you try and change it, which we can talk about in a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah,
There's ways we
we
can wiggle
can't
around.
see the amount.
You're not getting a report that says this person made a gift of
No.
$1,000 and an extra $90 on top of it. Okay. So let's do it with real numbers here. And remember, when you have questions, I know because it's been lighting up now, people, this is a hot topic, hit it in the Q&A button. So Lauren gets out a crisp $10 bill from her digital wallet and makes a gift. Okay. This is what it looks like. So donor cover, it's going to look like that on the left. And we'll go in detail here. Complete covers on the right. We'll talk about the language here. So donor cover, your $10 gift becomes $10.67. Okay. That's your gift plus that 3%, 3.95% plus 30 cents. That is what you're paying. Okay. And we'll talk about tax deductibility in a second. On complete cover, you made that $10 gift, and then it had the extra, in this case, 9% for processing support. So you end up paying $10.90. Okay. That is what it looks like. Those are actual gifts made. That's actual language that gets, put up on the screen. Let's zoom in on what it tells the donor. So on complete cover, it looks like this. The box that you have put on there, when you turn on donor cover, you're essentially checking this box for everyone that goes to that page, unless they uncheck it. It says cover the processing fee, so 100% of my donation goes to the organization. Very typical, right? This is language you see on a whole lot of donation forms, no matter who the provider is. And Lauren, that is tax deductible, correct?
Yes, because it's just an increased donation that I can do as an organization. I can do with it whatever I want.
Yep. So it is deductible, it goes to the organization. Complete cover reads a little different, right? It says this platform is powered by Blackbaud at reduced cost to us, the organization. Contribute 9% to them, to Blackbaud, right, to continue the support. That is not tax deductible, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That is a payment to a for-profit organization like Walmart or authorized.net or whatever.
Yep. Got it. So I'm sure people can understand where this is going. But I wanted to use the word hubbub because that's the first time I've been able to put that on a slide. And we've been doing webinars for, I think, 5 years. So Lauren, given all this, let's talk to what was all the hubbub about each of these, right? So if you're on any of the forums, you know that this is a sensitive topic to a whole lot of people. For donor cover, tell me if I'm correct in analyzing the hubbub. 3.95% plus 30 is what's getting charged no matter what. What I put on the screen is Blackbaud's posted rates for BBMS, right? I think as of yesterday when I put the slides together. So they're basically charging the Amex rate. And if you know a lot about this, Amex charges a higher rate, Visa, MasterCard is a little bit lower, ACH and debit is lower. So you might be used to getting different rates and fees depending on what the donor does. Blackbaud is charging you the highest rate, the Amex, a little bit higher than Amex rate, regardless of what's coming in, right? Regardless of whether the person is doing direct debit or Visa or anything else. If you're using donor cover, they're charging that higher rate and they are keeping the difference. Like, so if somebody does a debit, normally they'd be charged a lower transaction fee, but in this case, they're getting that 3.95 plus 30 no matter what, and Blackbaud is keeping the difference. Is that right?
Correct.
That was not always the case.
Correct.
So why do
They
they
used to
use
just charge us this much for, or you can't see me moving my cursor. No one can. They used to charge it 2 Visa rate. They used to charge a Visa rate for a Visa card, Discover rate for a Discover card, an Amex rate for an Amex card.
Yep.
And they paid you, they charged the donor that. They presented that amount to the donor. And
Yep.
then they gave you everything extra that the donor gave. Now they charge the donor the highest rate, which is currently an Amex, anywhere between 3.5 and 3.95, and they charge the donor that on every card, and they give you what you paid. So if I pay with a Visa, my fee may, I'm not doing actual math. This is not actual math. My fee may only be 50 cents. But Blackbaud is going to keep the the 17 cents and not send it back to me.
Yep. Okay. So if people have questions about that, the outrage, I believe, is when Blackbaud changed it. They used to not just charge the maximum and keep it. They used to vary the rate based on the card that the donor
Mhm.
used, how they did it. When they announced it to folks, if I can put my PR hat on, it was a terrible way that they rolled it out. If I can just be candid, I know we have Blackbaud people on here. I know that they don't disagree. The message that went out to all the customers was, hey, we're doing this special thing and it's to make life simpler for you, right? It was a very condescending message, which was great news, everybody. We're going to make it so much simpler. You don't have to do math anymore. And what they were announcing was, we are going to charge a higher rate and we are going to keep more money. But it was presented in a way that was very condescending to a lot of customers. I know that because my email blew up and I still get messages about it today, right? People are like, I can't believe. And I think it was less about what they were charging because, to be honest, Blackbaud's not that far off from what other organizations charge if you're doing an independent third party, donor
Mhm.
processing. It wasn't that. It was the rollout of it and the fact that they didn't always charge at higher rate. They used to be able to get a better deal as an organization, but then they changed it. And in the process of changing it, it was like, it was assuming that nobody would notice what was happening, right? Like, hey, great news, you don't have to do math anymore, everybody. In reality, every single person that got that notice is like, what the hell is going on? Like, you're treating me like I'm an idiot, you're taking more money, and you're telling me it's better for me. Like, so that is what's going on with donor cover. I would say, in summary, it's fairly typical with what we see with other, online processing vendors that you can use. Might be a little bit higher in some, might be a little bit lower in others. You can turn on or off. Donors are going to be used to it. No one's going to freak out. Complete cover hubbub. Okay, so moving on to the other one, a little bit larger scale hubbub that we've seen from using this for organizations. Two things.
Yes,
Number one is that you have no idea what donors are paying to Blackbaud. Andy, is that right?
that is correct. So all we're going to get is the gift amount, and we don't know if it was 9%, if it was 10%, if it was 12 or 15%. We have no idea.
Right, which makes people nervous, right? So if you're an organization that you value more than anything, getting that full $10 and not paying attention to transaction fees, you're going to turn it on. But if you're one that values knowledge and information about what all is happening to your donors, you're going to freak out about the idea that they might be asked to give larger amounts that you have no visibility into.
And particularly, yeah, we got
That's an example.
it's important because we don't know, we can't acknowledge and thank them for what we don't know, right? So we're still sending them a $10 acknowledgement even if they made a $15 transaction, and
Right.
then they get mad that we didn't acknowledge $15, we only acknowledged 10.
And Lauren, this is a fairly frequent occurrence that we get, right? When PSG turns on donor or complete cover, sorry, it's not uncommon for us to get people reaching out, and I think it's for so one, the donor's like, hey, in this scenario, I gave $1,000, your acknowledgement only said, or sorry, I gave 1,090, your acknowledgement only said 1,000. Number one. Number two, you have donors that see that on the screen and think this organization is gouging me. Like
You are
I'm
terrible stewards of my money. Why are you
right,
paying?
right,
9% in processing
right.
fees.
Because that is the typical donor cares about that. Like we get
Yeah.
angry letters because the letter was 2 pages instead of one. How dare you waste treat? I mean, people care about nonprofits stewarding money, right? And we can make light of it, but there's a serious concern there. When a donor who knows a thing or two sees a 9% transaction fee, they either think they're getting honked by the nonprofit, right? Like you or the nonprofit are doing this to me, that's crazy. Or worse, they think you're run by idiots and they think that you're getting honked by a vendor, right? Like we get those calls all the time, and it generally leads to, I demand that such and such organization that you talk to my banker or this other, I'm in this business, like I can get you a better deal than this, right? It's just all of these conversations are coming up because they think that you have agreed to pay 9% on everything, right? That's not ideal. So that's, again, there are uses for this complete cover. If you just absolutely always want to get the full $10, right, or the full $100 or whatever, and not think about it, it can be a good solution for you. For us in larger organizations, sophisticated organization, it has been a wild ride, right, to encounter what donors feel when they see this thing happen, right?
And I'll also say somebody else mentioned, I don't remember if it was Chad or the question. There have been a couple instances where like a donor calls and wants to adjust their recurring gift either up or down, and we can't do it on our end because complete cover is attached or donor cover is attached. So you really got to be mindful of those things because you don't always know them until they happen. So read all the documentation before you make a choice. We're
Yep.
not covering all the details. We
Yep.
cover a lot of them, but read the documentation before you make a choice.
There was
Okay.
also a question in the chat about just the My Organization Pays option, which is still an option. So yeah, if
Yeah.
you don't want to offer the ability for your donor to cover any fees, you can still do that, and your organization will pay 100% of the processing fees.
And I know we're short on time, but I've been biting my tongue a long time. Do that.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna. I got to move quicker. I took a long time just because people are confused by donor cover, complete cover. I wanted to make sure that we gave it a lot of room to marinate and really slowly walk through the pros and cons, like what it looks like.